All right. Good morning. Happy Thursday. If it's not morning to some of you, it's morning here. So I'm going to wait a little bit till people jump in. I'm Joel Fieri. This is the Faith Filter, and we're going to talk a little Super Bowl halftime shows. That's nobody else is talking about it, right? Yeah, everybody's talking about it. So I was going to highlight the differences in the two shows that were obviously available. While we're waiting for people to come in, the Super Bowl itself was, if you like defense and you like punting, yeah, it was a great game. I don't think that's what the NFL would ideally have, but Seattle's defense was pretty tough. So was New England's actually, but it also did a little bit of my story with the NFL. I live in San Diego County, and I was a San Diego Charger fan for years. And about 10 years ago, I guess all 9 years ago, the Chargers moved. And about the same time, the NFL was really involved in politics, kneeling for the anthem, a lot of stuff Colin Kaepernick was doing and leading. And so when that happened and they took my team away, I pretty much figured I've watched enough football in my life. I've given these people enough my time and ratings, right? So they've made enough money off of me. So have not been Warren Lucas. How you doing? I have not been an NFL fan for almost 10 years because the politics of it and the greed, and the Chargers leaving San Diego was simply greed. Them moving to LA was a joke. The LA did not want them. LA didn't want the Rams either. The LA really wanted the Raiders. But I just got disgusted with the politics, the left-wing politics, and the greed of it all. So I occasionally have watched Super Bowls because my wife likes to go to Super Bowl parties. She loves the commercials. The commercials were good. Eagles fan, huh? The Eagles. Okay. Were you ever brought before the judge down at the bottom of the stadium? But if you don't know, the Eagles were famous. Jacqueline's here. Morning, Jacqueline. It's been a while. Yeah, the Eagles are famous for having a courtroom set up below their football stadiums just because so many fans were arrested and brought to jail. They found, why not just put a courthouse underneath? I think that's about the same time they booed Santa Claus. But hey, at least they are true to their team, right? So, yeah, so I had pretty much been done with the NFL for a while. And like I said, the commercials is really the reason my wife and I watch it. And really, the commercials were not that good either. There was the one everybody likes with the Budweiser, Clydesdale's raising the little eagle chick, which was pretty cool. And Budweiser is trying like crazy to be as pro-American, and they're trying to get back all the people they lost with the Bud Light disaster. And I don't think it's going to happen. That was a big one. Well, if there was ever a corporate mistake, Bud Light, I think, has made history as the worst corporate mistake you could ever imagine. More than AC. And Lucas, I started watching about the McNabb area. We don't even get commercials in Canada. We have the YouTube. We have to YouTube them after. You don't get these commercials. That's interesting. So anyway, that's my pretty much take on the Super Bowl itself. Like I said, seeing the logo, the rainbow flag in the logo. Obviously, the game was in San Francisco. It did kind of put me back in the mode of I don't need to watch the NFL anymore. Again, they just can't stay out of woke politics, and they have to have it in your face all the time. And a lot of it, part of it was obviously in Big Bunny's show too. I mean, he had a lot of political statements in there. He had about the United States not, I think it was the United States not stepping up after the hurricane, the corrupt Puerto Rican government. His show, I'm really surprised. I'm not surprised. If things were normal, if things were equal, the left should be really outraged at his portrayal of the Puerto Rican people. And it may have been an accurate portrayal. I mean, he basically portrayed Puerto Rico and Puerto Ricans as working in the sugarcane fields and pushing fruit carts and drinking out of, watermelons and old pickup trucks, and just this, it was such a stereotypical view of Latins as just laborers. There was nothing in that showed Puerto Rico as a vibrant tech economic force, that the society was moving forward into a modern age. It just looked like Puerto Rico was stuck in the 1950s, really 1960s. And I was really, kind of shocked by that. But I mean, that was my first impression. I was kind of like, why would he be doing this? But, again, if it was some type of conservative show or presentation that portrayed Latin people like that, there would be a huge outcry. So played the video game. Oh, I played the video games and watched the Turning Point show. I skipped the game. Didn't expect the Patriots to lose. Okay. Everybody pretty much did. So Jacqueline, I watch daily, but sometimes I get to be live. The halftime show bothered me. Very sad. It was very sad. Yeah. AC, so many reels on Instagram from Hispanics saying, no, they're not fans. Themselves could not understand him. Yeah, I heard that too. A lot of Spanish speakers said they couldn't understand him. I did see a Spanish teacher on YouTube because I wanted to catch some of the lyrics, because he's got really nasty, profane lyrics typically in his songs, but they're all in Spanish. And I think some of the imagery, first of all, he usually performs in a dress. He's a trans guy. And so I was expecting to see that, but I think he just kind of trolled people by not, everybody's afraid he's going to be in a dress, and he just came out dressed like a normal guy. But apparently there were some, obviously Latin dancing is very sensual, and there's a lot of grinding and shaking going on. And apparently there was some pretty lewd stuff going on. I have to admit, I did not see that because I was struggling to see if my Spanish could understand the lyrics that he was doing, because I watched it later and I watched it with subtitles, and I was trying to read along, but my Spanish is not good enough. I took Spanish in high school, and I live in Southern California, so I know just enough to get me in trouble if I start a conversation. So I was trying to follow the Spanish, and I didn't quite notice a lot of. Apparently, there was some explicit stuff with both men and women, and then men and men, all that kind of stuff. So, but that's what he's about. So, but I was struck by the portrayal, and that I think if anybody else tried to do that, there would be a backlash. But, since it was set up as, this halftime show versus Turning Point's halftime show, nobody's going to criticize it. So, all right, your second oldest is trying out for his high school football team. How does your wife feel about that? Bad entertainment for sure. Bad Bunny, bad entertainment. So, all right. Well, and that in contrast with the TP USA, and I'll just I'll add this to the stage here, and then we will. Maybe I'll make it. I'll just play it. So here it is.
I awoke one Sunday morning all alone with this song stuck in my head. And in that moment, something or someone spoke to me. They said there was still a verse that needed to be written for this song. And to get up and write it down. There's a book that's sitting in your house somewhere that could use some dusting off. There's a man who died for all our sins, hanging from the cross. You can give your life to Jesus, and He'll give you a second chance till you can't take it. If you got a chance, take it while you got a chance. If you got a dream, chase it, 'cause a dream won't chase you back.
Sorry. Okay. That, we'll stop it there. That did take me by surprise, because, it, oh, really? Chantel suggested, okay. She suggested your son play football. Good for her. Most moms don't want their sons playing football. So, but that was actually the end. I don't know if I'm sure everybody saw it, but I'm not sure everybody caught. I didn't, while he was doing it, I was kind of just catching up to it. Why he did the kind of the rockin' loud, a little bit lewd and inappropriate lyrics on his first song, that Bada Twaba, which I guess the sync was bad on, everybody thinks he was lip syncing, and it was off. And I remember when I saw it, I'm like, that's off. It reminded me of a few years back on New Year's Eve, Mariah Carey was singing, and it was so obviously what she was hearing in her ear was not what was going on there. And finally, she just ripped her earpiece out and walked off. I felt bad for her because that was kind of her comeback. But that's what it reminded me of, that it was something on the sync was off. It did make it look like he was lip syncing. And I figured he was either lip syncing or it was backtracked and it just wasn't syncing. And that's what I think he said this morning. That song is so complex and it was just off. He was really singing it. The whole thing was taped, but it was taped live, which I believe him. I don't think there'd be any reason not to do that. But it was kind of an old, I guess it was from the late 90s when he was real young and first starting out, and that the lyrics were pretty raucous, and it wasn't exactly a family friendly song. And so that kind of threw me a little bit. And it also said he was Kid Rock, obviously. And then the violin and cello interlude kind of threw me. I'm like, well, why did they throw this? Is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I have yet to be able to find the name of the song, but apparently it was a classic Christian song that these two were playing. Anthony and Allison, I think it was. And I think they played at Charlie Kirk's memorial too. And then, yeah, Milli Vanilli. Yeah, except they were, poor Mariah Carey. I think that was just a glitch for her. But yeah, Milli Vanilli back in the day was a total lip sync. And anybody younger than the rest of us probably doesn't know what that is about. They were kind of a flash. But then that served as kind of a bridge, kind of as a emotional bridge or artistic bridge to introducing Robert Ritchie, Kid Rock's real name. And then he sang this Till You Can't song. And the very end of it, he wrote a new verse about coming to Jesus. You can come to Jesus until you can't. So to me, that was like a redemption story of his testimony, maybe done artistically, done musically. But here's me as Kid Rock when I was young and wild. And, he's always had this persona. I've never been a big fan of his. I did like one of the songs where he talks about singing Sweet Home Alabama all summer long. That's really the only song I don't even know the title of it. That may be the title of it, All Summer Long or something. But that was the only song I ever knew by him. And he was always just kind of a rebellious, kind of Midwestern rocking guy, a little bit of rap, I guess. And that's all I knew. That's my image of him. And so it always seemed like every time I saw him, it was like he had a middle finger in the air or something. So he was an angry, probably aggressive young guy. He's from Detroit. He makes a big deal, like everybody from Detroit does. They have to say they're from Detroit, which is a strange thing. I mean, fine, be proud of where you're from, but maybe that's part of the FU kind of thing. I'm from Detroit and I'm proud of it. I'm from the most dysfunctional city in the country and I'm proud of it. So, so that was my only knowledge of him. And it seems like he's had this lifelong journey of maybe coming to faith, being like the Bible talks about, like a lot of us are. When you're young, you're impulsive, you're self-centered, you're into everything, you rebel. It's natural for young people to rebel. I was rebellious. I had long hair when I was a kid and I voted Democrat just because my dad voted Republican. That's the only reason. So I was rebelling against everything. I knew everything at 20, 24, whatever it was. And I was going to show the world that I knew everything and nobody had anything to tell me. And now I know, especially with my dad, what do they say? The older you get, the smarter your parents were. Right. Yeah, Eminem was another. He was kind of in the Eminem mold. Yeah, both of those guys about the same time. I was teaching high school at the time when Eminem was real big, and my kids were quite into that. And I think Eminem's from Detroit too. Yeah, right. So, coming from Detroit could make you an angry young man, right? What does the Journey song say? He was born and raised in South Detroit, and he took the midnight train going anywhere else. It's just like, get me out of here. I don't care where I go. I just want out of Detroit. So, so the contrast here is, and I didn't have any real video to show from the halftime show because there was nothing really Bad Bunny's halftime show, because there was nothing really that stood out to me other than, the production value of it was really good. Like they do at the Super Bowl. They, it used to just be up with people was on the 50-yard line and singing or whatever, or they just set the stage up and Michael Jackson or Whitney Houston or somebody just sang. But now it's got to be a full production with a full cast and audience. Good touch to marry the people, two people getting married. They really got married. They wanted him to sing at their wedding, but he said, why not just get married to the Super Bowl. So that was cool. But yeah, the obvious political statement at the end was the thing that really bothered me. And it was really the thing that set the two shows apart. And I should have got a video to show this, but I didn't get my act together in time. But at the very end, when Bad Bunny is finishing his thing, he says, "God bless America." And then he says, America is everything from Chile to Canada, right? Argentina, Guatemala, Mexico, whatever, all these countries. When you say God bless America, you're saying God bless all these countries. So America has no specific meaning. It's just the Americas, I guess, is what he meant to say. So that was the obvious big political statement. And that, look up Trump's take on the Bad Bunny concert. Yeah, I did see some things. He obviously didn't like it. Was there any specific point that he said? I'd be interested. But I know he wanted it all in English. Should be in English. But that was the thing that obviously is the globalist worldview. That's the okay. The last Super Bowl halftime show I enjoyed was Prince because I am a fan. The one I really liked was I can't think of his name right now, but he kind of did a 60s kind of Motown vibe. Um, and I can't think of his name, but he did about 6 or 7 years ago. But I'll think of it. Um, but yeah, there have been some good shows. But like I said, it's the NFL is back to making these political statements and backing up these political statements. I know that a lot of the players didn't like the Bad Bunny was playing. There's a lot of Christians and patriotic Americans in the NFL, I think, and I don't think they much like what's going on. The rainbow logo and everything, I think a lot of players didn't like that. So the whole thing was kind of a progressive, woke, kind of globalist type vibe going on from the Super Bowl. But from Kid Rock's show, you got a very pro-American Christian vibe. A lot of country singers were there singing about, I know the one guy sang a song about why can't I just go fishing, and the typical country song, have my gun and fish and whatever. So it was just a vivid, distinctive presentation of two different views of America. The one coming from San Francisco, coming from progressive California, progressive super crazy San Francisco, is the rainbow flag, the globalist thing. There's nothing special about America. We're just another country in the Western Hemisphere, right? Contrasted with Kid Rock's, be proud you're American. We love our freedom to do what we want to do. That's what America is about. And then topped off with the Christian faith, the Christian message. And that Christian message, the Turning Point seems to put forth of, and it was at Charlie Kirk's memorial. And the thing I took most of it from was Tucker Carlson's, Tucker Carlson was saying, what's different about Christianity, what the world says, what politics says, what progressive politics says is, you're a victim. The problem is someone else. The problem is you're being victimized from someone else. Okay. The problem is the world. The problem is the governmental system. The problem is whatever, these institutions that we have to bring down. But he said Christianity's message is, the problem is you. Okay. You're the problem. Your sinful nature. You're at enmity with God. Your disobedience. You have to take care of you. And Jesus, with his death on the cross and offer of salvation, offer of forgiveness, offer of redemption, is the solution to you, the solution to your problem. And that's, I think, what Kid Rock was saying. This is how I was when I was young. But then this is my story arc. This is my baggage. I think Chad Prather made this point. He said the baggage is part of it. The baggage is part of the story. That's what you've been forgiven of. That's part of God's story that he's working out in you, that he's telling through you. God is telling his story through all of us. And that's the redemptiveness, the redemptive message. And that's what was Kid Rock's message. So that's the contrast. Okay. You got Bad Bunny talking about how, complaining about the governments, complaining about whatever, and going to the lowest common denominator. I don't know if he had any explicit lyrics in Spanish, but I know people are investigating that. But just, it's all about bumping and grinding. And this is, just working in the fields and not striving for anything better, anything higher. Where Kid Rock is, hey, America is, you can be whatever you want to be if you believe in this thing called America. But first, you got to take care of yourself, which has nothing to do with America. It has to do with Jesus Christ. And you need to dust off that Bible, open it up, and give your life to Jesus while you can. So, and, as imperfect as it was, that showed the contrast between the message given at the Super Bowl. And so the verse I picked to kind of cap it off, when you talk about this, is Philippians 4. and I'll share that with you now. And I've got a different site, so it's not, hopefully it's not jumping around like it has done the last couple weeks. So Philippians 4, he says at the very beginning of Philippians, he said, "Therefore, my brothers and sisters, to whom I love and long for my joy and crown, stand firm in the Lord and in his way." And then down at verse 8, he says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. And whatever you have learned and received or heard from me or seen in me, put into practice, and the God of peace shall be with you." Okay. So again, this is the divide in our country, in our society. This is the divide in the world, really. It's this different worldview, this different way of looking at things. Do we go for the lowest common denominator? Do we go back to our basest urges? And do we live as victims demanding things from other people? Kind of the selfish way that Kid Rock was in his youth, right? He was angry, rebellious, focused just on his desires and his drives, right? As my friend used to say, the guy that sat with me, he was living for his glands. That's the way he put it, right? Or do we focus on whatever is good and pure and right, and the things that are taught to us in God's word? And that's really the striking divide that's making itself evident now. And as Christians, which way are we going to go? Obviously, the choice should be clear if you're a Christian. Like I said, as imperfect as it was, that halftime show, at least it tried to be redemptive. It made a real effort to be redemptive. And I thought Kid Rock's message was great. I thought that was a performative testimony he did, a performative redemptive arc that he's found, and he chose to end his show with that, as opposed to Bad Bunny ending his show with, "Hey, there's nothing special about America. We're just one of the Americas," right? And Kid Rock is like, "No, this place is special because in this place you have the freedom to work on yourself. You don't be a victim. Don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Don't worry about what everyone is wronging you. Everything that makes you a victim. Don't focus on that. Focus on yourself, getting yourself right with God. Dust off that Bible, start reading it." And again, that's the message of Christianity. That's the redemptive arc of our lives. And that's the story God is telling, and he's choosing to tell it through us, his children. He's making us the players in his story about his redemptive work by sending his son to die on the cross. And you can give your life to Jesus. You can until you can't. And that's the urgency part. That's the part that compels you to action. It's not someday I'll work on myself. Someday I'll get myself right with God. Someday I'll accept that gift of salvation. Well, that someday, today might be the last someday you have. And if you don't do it today, chances are, and for sure, it's not chances are, for sure, there's one day when you can't do it anymore, and it's going to be too late. So I think we're going to see a lot of this coming up, because I don't think the NFL is going to change. I don't think they're going to, I think they're going to keep offending their core fans. It's still the biggest thing going. So I guess the people that they thumb their nose at still will watch them and pay them all those billions of dollars. But at least we have an alternative for the halftime show. At least somebody stood up and said, "No, we're not going to do that. We're going to do this. And we're going to tell the true story of America. We're going to tell the true redemptive story of God and what he's doing and what's available for you." And it was an old angry rap guy named Kid Rock that chose to do it. And that's That's who God uses. God takes those crooked sticks and draws straight lines with them. And oh, wow, I'm over time. It's half an hour. As always, I always wonder how I'm going to fill half an hour, and then I look up and I'm over. So I will be on tomorrow. I don't think Ben's going to be on tomorrow, but I will be there, and I will see you then. Thanks for listening, guys. Thanks for chiming in. Good comments, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.